A cold November in Boston. November in Boston was always cold. The wind rushed through the streets, making people pull their coats tighter. Leaves danced in the air before settling on the sidewalks. Inside St. Mary's Community Hospital, Nurse Martha Carter stood by a window, looking out. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked tired. She wore her usual white uniform and held a patient chart in her hands. Just then, a mother came up to her, holding the hand of a small boy. "Thank you so much, Miss Carter, you saved my son," the mother said with teary eyes. Martha smiled warmly and bent down to talk to the boy. She gently brushed his hair with her hand. "Jimmy, your fever's gone now, but you need to keep taking your medicine, okay? Can you promise me that?" The little boy nodded and smiled, a shy but happy smile. These were the moments that made Martha love her job. In the 7 years she had worked at this hospital, patients trusted her, and her co-workers respected her. After saying goodbye to the mother and her son, Martha looked at the clock. 1 more hour until her shift ended. She smiled to herself, thinking about picking up her baby, Jacob, early from daycare today. He was 8 months old, and just thinking about his sweet smile made her heart feel lighter. Just then, the head nurse, Janet, called out, "Martha, you got a call from Dr. Daniel." Martha's smile faded. "What did he want?" she asked. "He wants to see Jacob over Thanksgiving weekend." Martha said nothing, just nodded. Her thoughts drifted back 2 years, to the time she ended her marriage with Dr. Daniel Carter. He was a pediatrician, like her. At first, she believed being in the same profession would bring them closer. They understood long shifts, sleepless nights, and the importance of saving lives. But as time passed, Martha realized Daniel only cared about one thing, his career. Whenever they had plans, Daniel canceled them. "There's an emergency surgery. I have to prepare for a medical conference." Always excuses, always work. Even when Martha was pregnant, and they were supposed to be excited about starting a family, Daniel barely made time for her. The night before Jacob was born, Daniel was out of state. He didn't arrive at the hospital until 6 hours after she gave birth. Little by little, Martha understood that their dreams were different. She wanted love, time together, and a strong family. Daniel wanted recognition, success, and long hours at the hospital. They eventually agreed to divorce peacefully, but while the breakup was calm, the reaction from Martha's family was not. Her parents, Robert and Diane, adored Daniel. To them, he was the perfect son-in-law, a respected doctor from a good family, well-spoken and successful, everything they had ever wanted for their daughter. Her mother asked over and over again, "Why did you ruin such a perfect marriage?" Her father didn't say much, but the look in his eyes always showed disappointment. Her brother, Greg, and his wife, Elizabeth, also didn't support her. Greg was friends with Daniel and even played golf with him regularly. He called Martha's decision selfish. After the divorce, family events became hard for her. Every time someone mentioned Daniel, she felt like everyone was blaming her. It became even worse when she started raising Jacob on her own. How can you raise a child without a father? Jacob needs a male role model. Maybe you should give Daniel another chance. Despite all this, Martha never once regretted leaving. She worked hard, loved her son with all her heart, and believed in building a better future, just the two of them. That day, after work, she picked up Jacob and carried him home in her arms. His giggles and bright blue eyes melted all the stress away. While feeding him dinner, she thought about Thanksgiving coming up next week. Every year, her parents hosted Thanksgiving dinner. She didn't go last year, but this year, she planned to go, and she wasn't going empty-handed. Under her bed, Martha had hidden a large envelope. It was something she had received from Daniel during the divorce, something meant to be a gift for the family. She had kept it for the right moment, and now, she believed the time had come. She kissed Jacob's soft cheek and whispered, "Tomorrow will be a special day." Thanksgiving morning. The sun filled the small apartment with golden light. The smell of rosemary drifted from the herb plant by the window. Martha woke up early. Today was important. "You slept well, didn't you, Jacob?" she said softly, lifting her son from the bed. She held him close and ran her fingers through his fine, soft hair. He had Daniel's eyes, deep blue and thoughtful. "Today, we're going to see Grandma and Grandpa," she said cheerfully, though she knew Jacob was too young to understand. Martha pulled out the new dress she had bought weeks ago. It was made of rich red velvet with a pretty collar. As she put it on, she looked in the mirror. She felt nervous but also hopeful. She had baked a pumpkin pie, just like her mother used to. She had packed the diaper bag with all of Jacob's things, his bottle, diapers, spare clothes, and his favorite stuffed giraffe. Finally, she placed the envelope on top of the pie box, checking it one more time. "This might change everything," she whispered. Her parents lived in the suburbs outside Boston, in a big two-story brick house where Martha had grown up. As she parked the car in front of the house, she took a deep breath. Jacob was sleeping peacefully in his car seat. She carefully lifted him and balanced the pie and envelope in her other arm. The cold wind brushed her face as she walked along the garden path. Fallen leaves crunched beneath her shoes. She remembered her childhood here, playing tag with Greg, helping her mom bake cookies, laughing with her dad. So many memories lived in this yard. When she reached the doorstep, she paused. There was a handwritten sign taped to the door. Martha blinked. Her eyes read the words again and again. "Family dinner, no single mothers allowed." Her heart stopped. It felt like a cruel joke, but the voices she heard from inside, her mother laughing, her father reading by the fire, Greg and Elizabeth chatting happily with their children, told her it was real. They didn't want her, or Jacob. She stood there, frozen, her face burned with shame. Tears welled up in her eyes. She looked down at Jacob. He had just woken up and was looking at her with sleepy, innocent eyes. "It's okay, baby, Mommy's here," she whispered with trembling lips. Part of her wanted to knock, part of her wanted to yell, but something inside her told her this was the end. Slowly, she took the envelope out of her coat pocket and tucked it beside the pumpkin pie. She added a small note on top. "I thought we could be a real family. This is my last gift." Then, without looking back, she walked away. A new beginning. Back at the car, Martha gently buckled Jacob into his seat. Once the door was closed, the tears finally came, but they weren't tears of weakness, they were tears of strength, of letting go. "We'll be okay, Jacob," she said softly, brushing her tears away. "We have each other." As she drove away, she glanced at the house one last time. The lights in the windows glowed warmly, but they no longer held any meaning for her. Today, she and Jacob would have their own Thanksgiving, just the two of them, and tomorrow, they would wake up to a brand new day. A day without judgment, a day full of love. A day that belonged only to them. Martha sat quietly at her kitchen table, holding the phone close to her ear. Her voice was steady, but soft. "I used part of the money from my divorce settlement," she explained slowly. "I bought round-trip tickets for that world trip you and Dad always dreamed about, and I paid off the loan on your house. All of it." That envelope had the proof inside. There was a sharp gasp from the other end of the line. It was her mother. "But, why were they torn into pieces?" her mother asked, her voice shaking. "I don't know," Martha answered quietly. "I didn't stick around. I left the envelope at the door and went home." The phone went quiet. Martha looked out the window at the snow falling gently over the world outside. Everything was covered in white, soft and quiet. In his high chair, baby Jacob was eating cereal, giggling now and then as if he could sense something peaceful in the air. Her father's voice came next, low and confused. "What does that mean?" Martha sighed. "It means someone tore it up, but it's okay, don't worry about it. I just wanted to give you all a gift, that's all. If you didn't want it or couldn't accept it, that's fine too." Even she was surprised at how calm she sounded. Yesterday, she'd cried so hard when she saw the envelope torn to shreds. It had hurt, deeply, but somehow, this morning felt different. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it had changed. She felt like she could finally breathe. There were no more expectations, no more trying to make everyone happy, just the truth. "Martha," her mother's voice came through again, but it was trembling, unsure. We didn't know, we didn't realize." "Mom," Martha interrupted gently. "It's okay, Jacob and I are doing just fine, we're okay." Suddenly, another voice joined the call. It was her brother, Greg. "Martha," he said, his voice low and full of guilt, "I shouldn't have put up that sign. It was just supposed to be a joke." But no one laughed. "Mom and Dad were really hoping to see you again." Martha felt a tightness in her chest, but her voice stayed strong. "Greg, you've been judging me for a long time, ever since I became a single mother. You took Daniel's side when we split up. That sign, was it really just a joke, or is that what you actually think of me?" There was silence again. Then she heard her father ask quietly, "Greg, is this true?" Greg stuttered, I didn't mean. Martha took a deep breath. I just want all of you to listen, she said. I love this family, that's why I gave those gifts, but if you can't accept who I am or how I live, then I can't keep forcing it. Jacob and I will go on without that. No, Martha, her mother cried out. We love you. We were just confused and hurt. Martha looked at Jacob, who smiled up at her, his face full of joy and innocence. Mom, she said gently, I hear your words, but now, what really matters is what you do. When the call ended, Martha put the phone down and let out a long sigh. A weight seemed to lift off her shoulders. She picked up Jacob, pointed to the snowy view outside, and smiled. Look, Jacob, a new day is here. That afternoon, the apartment was quiet. Jacob was napping after a fun morning at the park. Martha sat by the window with her knitting project, a little blue sweater she was making for her son. The yarn felt soft in her hands, and the gentle click of the knitting needles was calming. Hours passed. No one from her family called or texted. Martha wondered if she had been too harsh, but deep inside, she knew she had said what needed to be said. For so long, she had tried to please everyone else. Now, for the first time in a long time, she was choosing herself. Snowflakes started falling again. The sky was gray, and everything outside was slowly being covered in white. It was both beautiful and cold, just like her journey through life. Then, suddenly, the doorbell rang. She stood up slowly. Maybe it was her friend Jennifer stopping by. But when Martha opened the door, she froze. Standing there, covered in snow, were her parents, her brother Greg, his wife Elizabeth, and their 2 kids. None of them looked proud or strong. Their faces were filled with sadness, guilt, and hope. Her father spoke first. Martha, may we come in? She stepped aside, silently, and watched as each person walked in. No one could look her in the eyes. Greg was the last, and he only gave her a quick glance before lowering his head. They gathered in the living room. No one spoke. The air was heavy with silence. Martha went to the kitchen, her hands shaking slightly. She made tea, the same way she had done so many times before, but this time, something was different. Let's talk over tea, she said gently, returning to the living room. She handed out the cups and finally sat down. Then she looked at them all and asked quietly, why was it so hard for you to treat me like family? The question hung in the air. Her father was the first to speak. When Daniel left, I felt disappointed. He was everything I thought a good man should be, a doctor, respected, successful, and when you left him, I felt like I had failed, that somehow you had failed. Martha looked down. So, my life was your disappointment? Her father's voice broke. Yes, and I was wrong. I was too stuck in old ideas about marriage and family. I never stopped to see your strength, your courage. I never gave you the respect you deserved. Her mother was crying now. Martha, I should have stood by you. I let Greg put up that sign. I didn't stop him. I was angry and hurt, and I took it out on you. I let my silence speak when I should have defended you. Martha listened. Part of her heart softened, but the years of pain couldn't disappear so easily. Then Greg spoke, his voice heavy. It was my fault, all of it, the sign, the torn envelope, everything. I was jealous. You always had something I didn't, strength, confidence, and when I saw what you gave us, I snapped. I didn't think you should be able to do those things. I was angry, and I tore it all up. There was silence. His wife cried quietly beside him. The children sat still, watching everything with big eyes. Martha walked to the window and stared out. Snow was still falling, gently. She didn't know what to feel. Then, from the bedroom, she heard Jacob's cry. She brought him out, holding him in her arms. His bright smile seemed to warm the whole room. This is Jacob, she said, your grandson, your nephew. He deserves a family who loves him. Her mother stood and took a careful step forward. May I hold him? Martha hesitated, just for a moment. Then she handed Jacob to her mother, who held him like a treasure and began to cry softly. Her father touched Jacob's tiny hand. Martha, he said, will you let us try again, to know him, and to know you? She looked at them all. You tore up the gift I gave you, she said, but you can't tear up my heart. If you really want to make this right, it won't be easy. We need time, but for Jacob's sake, and mine, I'm willing to try. A quiet peace settled in the room, not full forgiveness, Not yet, but something had begun to heal. Greg walked over. I want to help from now on, he said, as your brother, as Jacob's uncle, please let me prove it. Martha nodded. Then show me, don't just say it. Sunlight began to shine through the window, touching the snowy world outside with gold. It was still cold, still winter, but something was changing, inside and out. And for the first time in a long while, Martha felt warm.